June 1983. A string of disappearances occurred in Hinamizawa village, Chichibu City, XX province. The suspect is Mion Sonozaki, 1X years old. She is suspected of kidnapped 5 Hinamizawa residents between June 19th and June 21st. A lot of names I can't read. Sonozaki, oh god. Preliminary investigations on the incidents were delayed at the time due to insufficient evidence, but it was resolved coincidentally and shockingly. On the morning of the 23rd, a vehicle patrolling the Sonozaki property heard screams from inside and rushed in as an emergency measure. They secured the suspect missing younger sister Shion Sonozaki and her 2 missing classmates Keiichi Maibara and Rena Ruga. The suspect fled the scene. My god, after research deep in the detached basement of the Sonozaki property, which is believed to have been used to kill those who disappeared, were discovered hair flakes of skin, blood, etc. of the 4 missing people. We concluded that the missing persons were tortured in a torture chamber. However, their remains have still not been found. At one of her imprisoned classmates' advice, we continued searching the detached basements of the Sonozaki property they were imprisoned, believing that they were there. However, nothing. In addition, investigations were continuing as to her participation in the serial freak deaths of the recent years, but thinking it would give some clue. But no evidence that Mion Sonozaki was involved either directly or indirectly has been found. There have been still many— oh god, I can't keep up. There are unclear motives to behind the instance as— okay. The opinion of a local officer knowledgeable about that region is that this may be been a lynching, an internal form of punishment, sacrilegious acts carried against the beliefs of the Hinamizawa village. It is clear that these incidents have been particularly rooted in this region. The Prefecture Police Department— oh god. We anticipate gaining valuable clues from the missing persons believed to have been imprisoned for the longest time. Shion Sonozaki, the suspect's younger sister, when her mind was stricken by the grave after effects of the incident, and she has not been in a state of mind to answer any questions that she knows. She has been in a state of shock. Hopefully she will recover. Is that enough of the auto-scrolling? Oh, that passed by so quickly. Only a few days passed since that time. After that, I was rescued by Oshi-san and his subordinates who Rena had called in. Aside from my entirely blank state of mind, I had no external injuries. The most I had was a small burn mark from where the stun gun hit me. As I was having a checkup in the hospital, Oshi-san asked me all sorts of things. I don't remember what he asked, or how I answered him. From what I heard, surprisingly, Mion still hadn't been captured. There were apparently a great many hallways and smaller rooms extending out from the depths of the prison. It wouldn't be strange if she fled to one of those and hidden herself. The one fortunate aspect amidst all the misfortune was that Shion had been safely secured by the police. When I last saw Mion, she seemed like she was going to take me with her and kill me. She probably didn't have enough time to, though, since Oji-san came rushing in faster than she predicted. That was the only really fortunate thing to have happened. Of course, the rescued Shion, despite having no external wounds, now had a big deep wound in her heart. She was in a severe state of confusion when they rescued her, and apparently she bit the police officers trying to resist. From what he heard, she was seeing Mion in everyone she saw. Hated not only the hospital, but even her own home, and had shut herself up somewhere in Shishimon, hiding her location. Additionally, in fear that Mion would come for her, she was moving from place to place every day, and even her parents weren't sure where she actually was. Wherever she was living, even now, Shion was spending her days living in fear of Mion's shadow. The police were investigating the Sonozaki's underground storehouse at this moment. Since they couldn't find the remains of the other sacrifices, hadn't Mion thrown the corpses into a well? I had a feeling I said that to him. I meant a hidden tunnel, vertical like a well, was somewhere in those underground passages. A secret underground without any maps or architectural drawings, which had swallowed up the remains of Rika-chan, Sakuto, and everyone else, was still unwilling to speak the truth. I was brought back to that basement again too for an on-the-site inspection or something, but I didn't remember being of any help. I never wanted to go back there again. For days afterwards, the Sonozakis living in Okinomiya, in other words, Mion and Shion's parents, the big name Yakuza, would come to our house to apologise, bringing many of their followers with them. However, much of my parents refused it. They piled up many 100,000 yen bills, calling it consolation money every day. The amount of money grew each day, and after it had passed 2 million, they were then given an envelope containing a letter. I don't know what was written in the letter. My parents talked about it by themselves for 2 whole nights and decided to move away. Yeah, I couldn't remember Mr. Keiichi in this arc. I see. You're moving, huh? When? At the end of next month. I won't even have been in Hinamizawa for half a year. I'll be lonely. Yeah, I'll just be leaving Rena all on her own. I'm the only one left. Rena smiled sadly. If I had just said yeah, I thought it would make her even more lonely, so I changed the subject. Here's something to think about. That's how I broached it. Mion hadn't actually fled, but had been demoned away into the truest sense of the term. Where she went after she disappeared, that we don't know. What was there where she had disappeared to? I hope there was a hobby shop dealing in imports, the kind Mion liked. That place. She would definitely be free from the burdensome fetters of her family, and live not as Mion Sonozaki, but as just Mion, and enjoy herself. Maybe she only met up with Sakuto and Rika-chan. They must also have been waiting for the day when and I would join them, spending all their time doing club activities, as lively as they always were. When I told Rena that, she smiled and nodded to me. The incidents the Sonozaki had been trying to hide, so hard to hide, were exposed to the magazines from this single tiny scene. The serial incidents of recent years were all pulled up like a long vine in the ground, one by one, and for many days, news of it was brought up on talk and variety shows. The shows, which were comedic and silly, never once tried to touch upon the grim, heavy history that Mion had been bearing. It made me mad to see them bringing this stuff up in jest, but there was nothing I could do about it now. How big an impression will these short few weeks I spent in Hinamizawa have on my life? During these few weeks, I met my best friends, and I had the best experiences of my life. I would probably never forget it for as long as I lived. As for the distorted image of Mion that the media created, after the masses got tired of threatening her like a plaything, they would ball her up, throw her into the trash, and then she would fade from their memories. As one of the few people who knew the real Mion, I must always make sure I remember her. Beyond any doubt, that will surely become my offering to her. The sky reached up so high, and towering columbinous clouds floated through it. The real summer was just before our eyes. Even now, Whenever 10 PM came around, I would expect a phone call from Shion, or Mion rather. Now that everything was over, of course she would never call me. But it was precisely because she wouldn't call me that I was scared of who would call me this time. Plus, Mion still hadn't been caught. I couldn't say for sure that everything was completely over. On the other side of that fear though, were my prayers that Mion was safe. When I thought like that, I was able to sleep even with such terrifying thoughts. The lights were off. Before her attacking when the lights were off was something that scared me. However, that feeling changed to regret within 2 days. The moonlight filtered through the gap in the curtains, shone onto the desk, and illuminated a doll. That's right, the doll that I should have given to Mion that day. She said it was an import from England or something, and was all the rage, didn't she? And it was all the rage. From what Shion said, the most popular amongst them were the ones wearing the fluffy dress. After being released from the incidents, the first place I went to was that toy store. Everything was apparently sold out besides the things that were on the storefront displays. I was refused once when they said they wouldn't sell the display products, but when they realized I was Survivor A from that incident, they immediately consented. Of course, even if I bought it, I might never have the chance to give it to her again. Even knowing that, I waited for the opportunity to give it to her. I waited like this, for the opportunity with it on the desk, so I can give it to her at any time. Plonk. That was a weird noise. It was a noise I wasn't used to hearing. It was too big to be raindrops, and it was completely different from the sound lost bugs make when they ran themselves into fluorescent lights. I figured I must have misheard and nestled back into my futon. Plonk. The noise happened again. I wasn't hearing things. I definitely heard it. Where was it coming from? I got up and turned on the light. If there was a second, there would be a third. From where though? I listened carefully. Plonk. The window. Some sort of pebbles were colliding with my window. When I realized they weren't being blown there by the wind, but rather being thrown by a person, I gave a start. I looked at the clock. It was 2 AM. Who would it be at a time like this? I quietly peeked out front through the gap in the curtains. In the light at the gate, despite being so late, I saw someone. They picked up a piece of gravel and threw it out this window. It hit the window and made a plonking noise. Who was it? Ah. I caught my breath in surprise. If my eyes weren't deceiving me, that person was Mion. I threw open the window and looked at the figure again. My eyes certainly weren't deceiving me. It was Mion. It was Mion. She was alive. Mion pressed her index finger to her lips and made the shushing motion so I wouldn't shout. If she hadn't, well, I was about to cry out. Mion was in a very delicate position right now. Even it was the middle of the night, I shouldn't call her out her name. I waved to her, threatening that I'd be right over, flung on my coat atop my pyjamas, and flew out of the door. I quickly hit the brakes just before going down the stairs. Although happiness was sprouting out within me, I had the sad feeling and this would be our final parting. So, I went back to my room again and grabbed the doll. If there was a God, I don't think I would ever thank him as much as today. Even it would be the last time we saw each other, I was so grateful for this one chance to give it to her. I slipped into my sandals and unlocked the door, unhooked the chain, and leaped out of the house. Mion. It's been a while. How are you? Been doing alright? It was like how we used to meet every morning. Mion waved to me and responded like she always did. It was doubtlessly Mion. It was the real Mion. Are you alright hanging around this place? I really shouldn't be here. He certainly wasn't acting like she knew the police were following her. It was almost like he was a patient who had gotten tired of staying in the hospital and had snuck out. The speech was lacked enough to make me think that, and I couldn't help but be surprised. That relaxation, I thought, was more like Mion, and I was happy for it. Anyway, what's wrong? What do you need at this hour? I wanted to talk to you one last time. That was when I noticed them. Mion's forehead, there were big droplets of sweat. Her expression too, which I thought to be a satisfied smile, was, upon closer inspection, trembling slightly, and I realised that she was forcing it. Well, I can't stay for any longer. The pain note was beginning to enter her words as well, as if just smiling was a feat for her. Are you alright? Are you not feeling well? I tried so hard until now, but I can tell. I'm done. This is my limit. They're about to come up behind me to take me away. Mion's smile crumbled and started to stiffen. Did she push herself this much to come all this way for me? Her laughter cut off and changed into rough breathing. I reached out to rub her back, but she knocked me away. Are you okay? Don't force yourself. Oh, that's right. I had something to give you, Mion. This doll. I wanted to do this one last thing, because I knew how little time you had left. For this last thing, it... My stomach is burning. Mion took a meat cleaver-like knife and stabbed me, and pushed it in tight, and took it and twisted it. Mion? Hey, what? It hurts. I made it. I made it. I cowered on the ground. My stomach was so hot, it was almost spewing fire. Mion watched it, then took a few steps back and cackled. I've done it all. That's everyone I wanted to kill. The last words Mion left me that day came back to me. After all, after today, Mion will never come back. From today on, even if my body is here, a body is all it will be. By then, the demon will have taken over it. The demon. The demon. The demon. This can't. I thought we had finally been able to meet. This can't be on. In a pool of blood of my own design, as the doll I brought for Mion, dyed in red. Oh, so red. Mion. The good fortune of having been allowed to meet Mion once more, and the misfortune of that meeting being torn apart before my eyes. Shall I be grateful or curse it? My emotions were neither of those, as my consciousness sunk deep into the black swamp. The doll I bought for Mion, the blood, had ruined it. No matter how much I scrubbed and scrubbed, it had needlessly been ruined. The sad moon was so white it looked frozen. June 28th, 1983. A violent incident occurred in Hinamizawa village, Chichibu City, XX Prefecture. The victim was Keiichi Mayo, also a victim of the previous strings of disappearances. Around 2 AM, he was stabbed in the stomach with a bladed object by the suspect of the last case and was gravely wounded. He was discovered when his parents woke up and was then transported to the clinic. He escaped death. The criminal fled the scene. At least we could read this one. At the same day, at approximately the same time, a fall incident occurred in the Kashimi apartment complex in Chichibu City, XX Prefecture. The victim was Shion Sonozaki, also a victim of the previous string of incidences. Later on the same night, neighbours overheard her having a big fight with someone and informed the manager. The manager used a master key to enter the room and discovered that the victim had fallen from her 8th floor balcony to her death. The room had been torn apart and appeared to show traces of a fight. One neighbour had frequently visited the Sonozaki house for a long time and testified that he heard what sounded like the two sisters having a fight, trading insults back and forth. We believe that this was related to the injury case that occurred the same day in Hinamizawa village, perpetrated by the incident. Suspect did not find anything of the victim being there. The victim fell straight into the foliage of the parking strip. Her neck broke and she died immediately. Her clothing was disheveled and had markings that would imply a scuffle. We also believe, however, that it could have been an insanity-induced suicide attempt based on the particular mental state of the victim. Conducted a thorough examination on both fronts of suicide and homicide. And is that the end now? As I see, Shion just fell to her death.